press secretary is one of the most high-profile jobs in Washington, but you'd be forgiven if you had no idea what Stephanie Grisham looks like. That's because she's the former Trump press secretary who never actually held a press conference. She has, however, written a book. I'll take your questions now. Get it? What I saw at the Trump White House. It is a rather chatty account of her time with Team Trump, where she also was chief of staff to Melania Trump, who has responded to Grisham's book this way. Quote, Ms. Grisham is a deceitful and troubled individual who doesn't deserve anyone's trust. So with that, Stephanie Grisham joins me now. Ms. Grisham, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So I want to start with you explaining why viewers today should trust what you say in response to my questions, because you lay out in the book, you admit that many times in Trump world, you're asked to misinform or perhaps lie on behalf of the boss. So you're doing a tell-all now. Why should we believe you?
I think that is a very, very fair question, and I will let anybody who chooses to read the book decide for themselves. In short, I don't have anybody to answer for anymore. I had a lot of time to reflect. I really moved far, far away from the bubble of D.C. and had a long time to almost deprogram myself from what I went through and reflect on it. And I wanted to write it down. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to write a book, I want to write something that is just honest and brutal. And, I don't spare myself in there either. And I hope that people will just take that for what it's worth.
So I'll just start with some of the things. Do you regret not resigning sooner? You waited till January 6th after seeing everything you saw for 4 years. You wait until January 6th, some might argue the day everybody was wanting to run for the hills from Team Trump. Why did you wait so long?
Right. Yeah, again, fair question. I did, for about the last 6 months, I actually tried to resign a couple of times, and Mrs. Trump talked me out of it. And in fact, I had a resignation letter written out with some very specific points in it that I was ready to hand over at any moment. January 6th, of course, was my breaking point. And I was really proud that I was the first in the administration to resign. But absolutely, to answer your question, I do regret it. And I did try for a while before.
Do you believe President Trump thinks he actually lost the election or not?
I do think he believes it. That's been part of what has been scaring me as I've been watching from afar. At first I really thought he wouldn't run again. I honestly thought this was a lot of his bluster, which, he's good at doing. He was doubling down. He'll never admit to losing, et cetera, et cetera. I thought he was going to just kind of raise some money so he could pay off legal bills, et cetera. But I think now, because his base is reacting to him the way that it is, and polls are showing that he is still very much the leader of the Republican Party, and very, very few Republicans are refusing to speak up about his role in January 6th, but also this current attack on democracy with regard to election integrity. I think he is going to run again. And, that's why I'm speaking out the way I am. I don't want him to run again. I think people aren't remembering that if he does run again in 2024, he'll have no guardrails because he will never have to worry about re-election. So he will do whatever he wants. He will hire whomever he wants. And I think that includes people of the January 6th mind. And I think that, earlier your guest was talking about the DOJ and it being weaponized. Imagine who he could put into the DOJ in 2024, knowing he's got no consequences there.
Who was, you heard Senator Whitehouse saying, do you have an idea of who was helping sort of fund and back these crazy claims of the president and his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows?
Well, certainly I know, as does the public, that there was Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and some of those characters. I do know that there were a lot of private meetings in the residence taking place that were perhaps not taking place in the White House where there would be public documents about that. So hopefully the January 6th, or, somebody will look into that, whoever the appropriate entity is. I don't have a specific name. I don't think it was one person. I think there were probably a few.
So walk me through election night and the day after. There seems to be some evidence that he was accepting what was happening with the results and then something changed. Can you pinpoint it?
I can't. I was with Mrs. Trump most of the night, to be honest with you. I wasn't, when I walked past to go to her room, he was surrounded at that point and by a lot of people from the campaign and by his family, etc. And he was just angry and wanting somebody to call Fox about calling Arizona. When they went down to take the stage, I remember specifically there was still kind of a debate on what he should say when he took the stage. And it was kind of decided he should say, "We'll see what happens," which obviously he did not say that when he took the stage. So I think he just refused to give up. I mean, it's Donald Trump, right? And he will never admit to being wrong or to losing anything. And now he's doubling and tripling down because he's got so many people supporting that theory. I think one thing he's gotten really good at, or he did get really good at as president, is taking advantage of the base and this group of people who are so desperate for a voice, which I understand and support, but I think they're being taken advantage of now, and I think he knows they'll do whatever he says.
Did you get taken advantage by him? It was interesting to me that you sort of admit that you got into that White House. Perhaps you wouldn't have gotten there with another campaign. Did he take advantage of you?
I think I don't want to pin that on him. I definitely got very excited to be around this glamorous world of the Trumps. And certainly when I got into the White House, you do get heady with power. I don't know that he took advantage of me in that regard. I think that was my own weakness there. I wish I would have been a bit stronger.
I've heard from several former Trump staffers, some of whom who share your concerns about him, but say that every decision you made was always in the best interest of yourself, whether it was to stick in order to get a good job in the White House or now to do a tell-all when you need to make money. What do you say to that criticism?
Well, two things. If there are people who are sharing my same concerns, I wish they would speak up, because right now, looking back, I don't think is what's as important in terms of personalities and who did what, why. But I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. When I was in the White House, I lost a lot of friends and a lot of family, and I think I lost a little bit of my own moral compass. And now leaving, yes, I got paid to write a book, but you cannot put a price tag on what is happening to me now. The right is mad at me. The left is mad at me. My family is getting threats. I'm being smeared. I'm being sued. I knew all of that would happen. So when I wrote this book, I knew this was going to be a very, very tough battle. So yes, I got paid, but there is no price tag for what's going on. I just find it to be very, very important for the country looking forward.
You said one of the reasons you're speaking out is you hope he doesn't run in 2024. If he does, do you plan to actively work against him?
If I'm asked to, if there's anybody who wants me to speak out or talk, yes, I will. I think that, I had a very unique perspective in that I worked for the former president, I worked for Mrs. Trump, and I worked for both of them at the same time. I know the way they think. I know the way they try to distract. And if there's any way I can be helpful to help decipher some of those movements and what's really going on, I would do that, yes.
Do you think if he's elected again, he'll destroy the democracy?
I think it will be a very terrifying time. I think he's on a revenge tour right now, right, with the people who voted to impeach him. I think it will be nothing but revenge, retribution, and how he can benefit himself. There will be pardons happening. I think there will be very draconian policies that go way too far. So I believe if he is reelected again, it will be a really, really scary time.
Stephanie Grisham, the one-time press secretary for former President Donald Trump and former Chief of Staff of the former First Lady. Thank you for coming on and sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.